Oh boy, disclaimer.
Welcome one and all to Banson's Treehouse of Horror Countdown Review. Continue watching, if you dare. The Simpsons has been going on for a bloody long time, and this episode certainly didn't want you to forget that small fact. Treehouse of Horror 27 is the 600th episode of The Simpsons, something which they were happy to point out in the intro and outro of the episode. No matter your personal thoughts on The Simpsons, you have to admit that's bloody impressive. But did the episode live up to such a huge milestone, or is it another flaccid failure in the Treehouse collection? Let's find out. The Simpson family go Christmas tree shopping on Halloween because they're American. No, seriously, that's legit the reason why.
Because in America, everything's way too early.
They then get locked in and some trees surround them. Turns out they are all disguises used by rivals of the Simpson family. Sideshow Bob, Kang, or Kodo, so I'm not sure which, and the ghost of Frank Grimes. Oh, the leprechaun from Treehouse 12 is also there. Woo. They plan to kill the Simpsons, but Maggie kills them with ease. Seriously, why is Maggie such a badass? Their blood then makes the title card. However, because Grimes is already dead, his ghost just reappears before scenes from the preceding episodes appear behind him. It's a pretty fun intro if I'm honest. It's got some nice violence and it's always good to see Sideshow Bob and Frank Grimes again. So on to our first segment, Planet of the Couches. In a clear parody of Planet of the Apes, a bunch of couches capture and imprison the Simpson family. Later on, a brown couch saves them, only for Homer to hit it over the head. And then, oh, you are kidding me! That was still the intro? Are you insane? Why did this episode need 2 intros? And that means this intro goes 2 minutes and 31 seconds. Are you mental? That's just needlessly long. What's the point? Now each segment has to try and be good with much less time to work with. So, onto our real first segment, Dry Hard. In a parody of the Hunger Games and Mad Max Fury Road, we see Springfield stuck in a huge drought, which has completely dried up Springfield. Mr. Burns, who controls the last of the water supply, makes an announcement to have the town children battle each other in a fight to the death. The winner gets to spend a day swimming in his reservoir. Mr. Burns is great in the villainous role here, but he almost always is. Just seeing him waste water is cruel and funny at the same time. Lisa is the child picked for her region, and she meets her coach, the alcoholic Homish. Being honest, I don't really like Homer here. I just don't think he really does enough. Then again, he is responsible for one of the funnier deaths in the segment. Speaking of which, the deaths are really good here. They're violent, yes, but also really funny. The baby with one eyebrow accidentally killing himself made me cackle when I first saw the segment, and Ralph Wiggum's death is hilarious.
Do not step off your pedestals before...
Before what? Whee!
Eventually, Lisa creates a union between all the people to storm Burns' reservoir and steal his water. I love Barney's response to Flanders wanting to sort things out peacefully.
Ned, that noggin of yours is just what we need.
We get to see Barney in the Plow King truck too. At this point, I just want to say that the animation is fabulous in this segment. Seeing Springfield dry to the core is a visual treat, as is the driving scene. They really capture the atmosphere of Fury Road well here. They get to the reservoir and destroy one of its walls, which seems fine at first until all the water runs out immediately after. It then starts to rain, bringing joy to the citizens again, only for it to cause flash flooding and then an ice age. That's pretty funny. I'm giving Dry Hard a 7.5 out of 10. It's a fun segment with some good laughs and great animation. Yeah, there's no scares, and I could argue that the films chosen to parody aren't horror films, but they did a good enough job. Plus, they managed to combine the source material together really well. Christ, that's one hell of an annoying name to type out and pronounce. Things start going wrong in Lisa's life as her friends all start dying in tragic freak accidents, such as being run over by lawnmowers and crushed by gravestones. Chief Wiggum believes Lisa is behind the murders and discovers Lisa's nail polish matches some found at the crime scene. Lisa claims she hasn't worn that nail polish since she said goodbye to her imaginary friend Rachel. And lo and behold, Rachel is behind the murders, killing anyone Lisa loves or is friends with so she can have her for herself. Being honest, it is a creepy idea that's also fun. Rachel has an odd eeriness about her that I can't put my finger on. She enjoys killing way too much for it just to be jealousy. Like, she smiles as she brutally suffocates Milhouse and even rubs his death in Lisa's face later in the segment. Lisa is of course arrested, but Bart breaks her free after Rachel claims she's going to kill Marge for being the deciding force in splitting Lisa and Rachel up. Rachel is fucking crazy in the third act. Also, huge shout out to Snowball 2 for saving Marge's life by giving up her own. I genuinely get a tug on my heartstrings here. Poor kitty. The third act is pretty intense too. Rachel takes some fire tongs and tries to kill Homer with them. He brings to life his former imaginary friend, Sergeant Sausage, which is bloody hilarious. I love Sergeant Sausage, even if he gets beaten by Rachel fairly easily. Lisa then uses her imagination to make Rachel her mother and eventually cause her to disappear. What a great end to a really good segment. Such a great concept that lived up to its potential. The idea of an imaginary friend, something you have created, causing havoc and killing the ones you love is really unnerving. I wouldn't say the segment is scary, because it's not, but it's certainly eerie as hell. It's also got some decent dark humour too. I'll give BFFR RIP an 8 out of 10. It's gruesome and dark, but also funny and entertaining too. And it's a great concept that made the most of its potential. Bart gets chased into the back room of Moe's bar by Jimbo, Kearney and Dolph, but Moe turns up and hands their asses to them. It turns out that Moe and his regular barflies are actually secret agents and his bar is just a ruse to hide their secret lair. Not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome. It turns out Homer was their best agent before being killed on the job and they want Bart to take his place. They get word that multi-billion-dollar company Remo Industries has bought all the world's beer and is hosting a free Steely Dan concert at the recently bought Duff Stadium. The agents sneak into the stadium and discover that the CEO of Remo Industries is in fact Homer. Yeah, who the hell didn't see that shit coming? Some frickin' twist that was. Yes, Homer decided to turn heel and create a huge lava machine to make the world surrender to him. Buying the world's beer supply was to celebrate. Homer managed to sneak mind-controlling toxins into the food and is able to summon his guest to defend him. Bart, however, has no issue killing everyone. He then manages to trick Homer into hugging him so he can stab him in the back, quite literally. This is the weakest segment of the episode. However, it's still not bad. It has some things going for it, such as its incredible visuals. I love all the references to spy films such as Kingsman and James Bond.
Let me introduce you to Q. There it is, a pool cue. That's your weapon.
Also, finding out how Homer got his scar is hilarious.
How'd you get that scar?
Go!
However, I feel the segment was a wee bit rushed and didn't have much flow. Plus, the twist was weak because it was bloody obvious. The ending, however, is really cool. After we see Bart and Sherry have the typical Bond ending, we see a fantastically animated Bond montage as the song 600 sung by Harry Shearer's wife Judith Owen plays. And it's brilliant. Owen does a fantastic job with singing the song, which is in reference to this being the 600th episode. It also mentions how the show has managed to survive whilst many other worse Fox shows have died. We even see the show logo scrolling past. I'm still gutted about Futurama. Moefinger gets a solid 7 out of 10. It's not great, but it's certainly good and watchable. Its narrative is a little rushed, but it delivers with the jokes and satire enough for me to recommend it. For some reason, since Treehouse 22, all odd-numbered installments have been knocking it out of the park, and this is no exception. Not only does it do a great job as a 600 episode milestone, but as a Treehouse episode in total. All 3 segments are fun and watchable, with special shout out going to BFFR RIP for being the best segment and making most of a great concept. I'm giving Treehouse of Horror 27 a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a perfect Treehouse segment by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a good installment that happily sits on the entertaining side of things. And that's it for this video and this review. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm an imaginary friend short of a murder charge? What do you think about Treehouse of Horror 27? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.